Hi, and welcome back to another episode of the History of Fan Anime. I'm your host, William Chow, and today's episode is a little bit of a fun one with a little kind of cross sort of genre type of thing. I'm going to talk about how advanced Dungeons and Dragons and their influence on anime. Okay, I basically started watching some. I was always watching some classic animes, but I got. I was recommended to check out this new anime called Goblin Slayer, just because it has some controversial type of thing from the the politically correct crowd there, and the social justice warriors here. And after watching that, I decided, okay, yeah, this is more of this full outrage that everyone's always complaining about, and we've always had this in different sort of animes and that kind of stuff. But it's just because of the fact that Twitter is made for twits. Well, it allows people to open their big mouth and make them bigger than they actually are. So I wanted to basically start with giving you suggestions of other animes that sort of have that. Not only that just because they're a fantasy anime doesn't mean that they're really good examples of advanced Dungeons and Dragons or RPGs for that matter, because other ones are have a better focus than others do, and I'm going to sort of go over a list of that just because I didn't include one, because there are just so many. I don't want to make this episode just entirely on categorizing different animes, whether or not they are good A&D or RPG type of things, and other ones which aren't. Okay, I don't want to really get into that. Okay. The other thing I want to do is I also don't want to really mention lots of animes which are based off of RPGs. So, for example, like Final Fantasy. We can obviously guess that's based off of the game, and don't want to say that is really like an RPG or that, because again, it's designed after a game. So okay, let's just go with that. Okay, and you can kind of argue with some of these ones, like they're like that too, but some are probably more than others. All right, and so that's what I want to get into, more that kind of style. Okay, so one of the first examples that'll come right up to the top of the list. Okay. Has always been Record of Lodoss Wars, the OEVA set. So the first the 13 episode series, not the 26 episode series. Better example. And the reason why that I picked this one is because this one is the I like to refer to it as the romantic view of Dungeons and Dragons. Okay, so when you go to play Dungeons and Dragons, you always you have this fantasy, this romantic thought of how the game should be. It's the wayfaring fighter who has this party of the very mysterious mystical elf, and the prototypical short dwarf with the dwarven axe, and the ever shifty thief that's sometimes too greedy for the party's own good, and then you got the nervous sort of shaky sort of sorcerer there, and then of course the ever curious monk who's always overcautious about everything, right? So and of course this whole entire notion of dragons and that kind of stuff is all based very, very well in Record of Lodoss Wars. So again, if you like that sort of what you would imagine, in your mind, what a really ideal magic and Dungeons and Dragons sort of feel, that would be your type of series that you should get into. Okay, so have a look at that one there. Other suggestions that sort of came, when were suggested on me, just because they were in that sort of lineage, is things like the Legend of Arslan, which is sort of more of a Persian feel to it. There's also Vampire Hunter D, which again, this is more focused on D, the vampire itself. So that's sort of kind of an ancient sort of style, the Dracula type style. So that doesn't really count, but I would like to give that a sort of an honorable mention. as well as Arslan. Again, he's a prince, so I think, okay, fine, but it's not really AD&D. So again, that's why I like to give that a mention. Of course, one of the favorite ones, a lot of people, when I say Goblin Slayer, the first one that comes out to mind is Berserk. Again, that's a nice anime, kind of rough and grading. I didn't really like that at the very beginning, but the strange thing is that the thing that drew me to that series more was what was going to happen between Casca and Gus. Okay, that was more interesting to me about that series. And then of course that whole entire thing at the end that happens to Casca. That's again, that's another thing that all the social justice warriors all go complaining about. But again, that came out a long time ago, and so that never ever stopped happening. Okay, let's put it that way. So something the Goblin Slayer has just done is not something new. It's just that back then they didn't have Twitter, so those idiots can't complain about it, and that's why it goes by the wayside and probably gets ignored with all the other anime that comes out at that time, unless again you were interested in something like Berserk. But yeah, again, I'll group those all together because they don't give me that sort of D&D sort of feel, but they are in that sort of genre. So if you like that kind of thing, you should check those out because those give you good honorable mentions. Okay. The other ones I want to sort of mention also in the honorable mention category is things like Escaflowne and Fushigi Yugi. Okay. And for that matter, if you want to throw in Inuyasha, maybe like Full Metal Alchemist or something like that, okay, where they sort of mix in elements of the knights, but they've got like armored suits, or Fushigi Yugi, where they fall into the sort of ancient sort of society where said Yui falls on one side and her friend falls on the other, and thing. In Inuyasha, of course, they go through the whole. They're in sort of a kind of medievalish Japan type of thing. FMA again, they mix the modern technology with the older stuff. So again, they're nice in that sort of respect, but the stories themselves, to me, don't play like an AD&D type of thing, or they don't seem like that. They have a little bit of, shall I say, medieval feel to it, but not the AD&D feel, if you know what I mean now. Okay, so again, I'll give those honorable mentions. Good animes to check out if you have the chance. Please do look at those ones. All right. But anyway, going on to my series of ones that you want to take a look at. Another one that is very common as an AD&D one is Slayers. Okay. Now, why I mention Slayers is because Slayers is the type of anime where it ends up, when you play these AD&D campaigns, is the way that a lot of times the AD campaign ends up turning out to be. Okay? And here's what we're talking about. You have the level 50 sorcerer going into a dungeon, and you go, oh, here is, let's just use Goblin Slayer for example. We go into this room, and there's 11 goblins in it. Okay. Each goblin has, 1d4. Okay, so maybe 4 hit points or whatever. Okay, so as Lena, I'm going to go, well, I'll just throw a fireball in there. Okay, see, level 50, so it's a 50d6. Okay, everyone takes, 250 points of damage, and each goblin has only 4. Okay, so not only those goblins are total barbecue, well, yeah, you vaporized all of them, okay? And of course, it's like, okay, yay. Okay, so that's like, that's your typical thing. Or, okay, let's walk into, let's use Goblin Slayer again. Wandering, oh, well, we have this big room with this ogre in it. Okay, let's see, all right. That's, okay, Gary will step up there. He'll have like his +5 creature slaying sword, and he'll just go up there and whack, 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 because he's level 50. He'll get 4 extra attacks, +5, +5, +5, attack strength bonus, +6, +6, +6. Okay, hits all 4 times, so that's 4 attacks, 4 hits, okay. So, that's 3d6 times 4 +5, +5, +5, +6, +6, +6. yeah, okay, he takes 150 points of damage. An ogre has is a HD8 plus 8, so yeah, he has 60 hit points. Okay, yeah, you slice them, you slice them up 3 times over. Yeah, the goblin basically gets chopped up in like 3 big huge pieces and falls apart. Well, that was fun. Okay, there we go. Let's continue, right? So I'm sure we've all played D&D campaigns where the party members are just walking through the dungeon and basically blasting everything to bits as they go, including the treasure that they're probably trying to get in the first place. So that's Slayers, right? Lena is a very powerful magic user. Garo is a very powerful fighter, and first couple episodes they blow up the inn just to get rid of the stupid bandits that are in it, right? So sometimes a little bit more powerful than you expect, and whatnot. Okay, another one of these animes I'm going to give kind of a good sort of recommendation to, but not maybe a full endorsement for the fact that whether it actually is like an anime, is one called Carol. Okay, and again, this is one of these animes that is more of a promotion for the band TM Network. They made an album called Carol, and basically it's basically a modern day girl falls into a Wizard of Oz type of world, where basically the band members of the of TM Network are basically the various different people that they meet as they go on. Again, fantasy feel, but not necessarily an AD&D thing. The other one that I'm going to make a mention in that same sort of category is Lika-chan. Okay, another one of the early works for Akimi Takada type of artwork. Okay, in the same range of the Creamy Mami and that kind of stuff. Again, a girl that goes into this sort of fantasy world and does various different things in the sort of fantasy world. Again, so I'm going to group that with Fushigi Yugi and Escaflowne, if you will. That's the same sort of kind of parallel dimension world type of thing that sort of happens in that. Also, if you really want to kind of get into that kind of weird stuff, but more on the slightly hentai-ish nature, take a look at Miyuki-chan in Wonderland. Okay, that's a short clip done up by Clamp. Okay, the people who do Magical Knights Rare Earth and Card Captor Sakura. Okay, and basically the story is, of course, Miyuki falls into the land of Alice in Wonderland. Okay, that's the name Miyuki-chan in Wonderland, and basically it's strange how all these basically female characters are all trying to get into Miyuki. All right, literally, and so you'll find out again, really short thing. You can have a look at that one. Similar story. There's 2 parts to that. There's also Miyuki-chan through the looking glass. Okay, and that's basically where she looks into the mirror, and then she goes into the dimension behind the glass. Okay, that's another story in that one too. Okay, and again, the same thing happens to her. She basically meets all these characters in that land. They're all trying to get her, and but yeah, I'll follow that again in that same category as that one. Okay. The other really notable title that I want to put in here before I make this too long is I wanted to mention Dragon Knight. Okay. Now again, although this is sort of based on the video game of the same name, it pays to make a mention of this particular game because it basically the intention is it's made like a dungeon crawler. Okay, so the old-fashioned wizardries, Ultima. Those type of Might and Magic, okay, those type of games where you basically, build up your party, you're going to go into the dungeon, and you're going to beat up the monsters, and then, find the treasure and that kind of stuff, okay? Now, in Dragon Knight, especially the original series of Dragon Knight, not Dragon Knight 3, it is based on the idea that, you're the guy, and you're going to go in, the fighter and whatnot, you're going to go into the dungeon, and you're going to find the monsters and beat them up, whatever. Now, the thing that they did in the game version of Dragon Knight and of course the anime is that the guy meets up with these, let's say, animals, okay, shall we say? So the guy will go in the dungeon and he'll meet like bats and like tigers and that kind of stuff, okay? But What they are is basically a girl dressed up in a bat costume, or a girl dressed up in a like a tiger skin bikini, right? And of course, when he fights the girl and that kind of stuff, and he finally gets the hit point down to 0, all the clothes blows off, and of course, she suddenly wants to join your party. So you basically, this is the beginning of the harem building and the, and the basically collection of different characters, throughout the game. Okay, and that's this is not uncommon for a large selection of different, these type of games and that kind of stuff when they first came out. Again, Dragon Knight was one of the first games that came out in the early PC Engine, for example, is one of the consoles that came out in. Okay. They made a revision to the original Dragon Knight series, and they made Dragon Knight 3, which again, adds a whole bunch of extra characters like the elf girl and all this stuff, and it sort of detracted a little bit away from the actual going into the into the dungeons and basically all the creatures are actually girls in costumes, but they tried to make it a little bit more, shall we say, RPG-ish in that sense by the time they got to Dragon Knight 3, but again, another sort of, shall we say, the beginnings of these sort of animes based off of Dungeons and Dragons things of that nature. Okay. Now the last one that I want to mention, I'll mention 2. Okay, and I said I didn't really want to get into too many of them that are based off of video games, but there are 2 more that I want to mention. Fire Emblem, which is also based off of the game, the same name. So I'm not going to go too far into that one or that one. But the other one that is also based off of a video game is Ys. Okay. Again, they've already made like Ys 1, 2, and 3 on the Super Nintendo and PC Engine and whatnot as well at this time. And then they made this anime where basically Adol and the island of Ys and all the stuff that's going on there. Even though it's based off of a video game, it clearly has that same sort of feel of actually playing an adventure of that kind of thing, and probably a little bit better than most. Okay, the animation is very good, and it has that same sort of lineage feel that you would get, as I said, that sort of romantic view of how a Dungeons and Dragons should be done. I get that feeling with something like Ys. Okay, so definitely, if you have a chance, take a look at that one. That's a good one to check out. Right, the Dungeons and Dragons sort of feel, this medieval feel, has always been in a lot of animes, and it has been for a long time in animes and influenced different animes. Now, of course, it's influenced in different ways. People making different kinds of offshoots and that kind of stuff. And whether or not you want to watch them, that's up to you. Whether or not they have that same sort of feel, but it's nice that that there is this influence of something like adventures, Dungeons and Dragons, and this role playing type of feel in some of the animes out there. So that it's kind of crossed the genre that. Whether or not you like that, my opinion is that if you like this genre and you like to watch this type of thing, by all means, go ahead, watch your Berserks, watch your Goblin Slayers. Do it. If you enjoy it, then that's great. If you don't, and one of these social justice warriors saying that this is horrible or whatever, why are they releasing this stuff, or what the authors are like idiots or whatever, like, come on, it's Japanese animation. It's stuff that's produced not even in your country. Why are you complaining about it? Can you do anything about it? No, you probably can't, right? So why don't you go and save the ocean or something? I don't know, but that is another story. All right. So what you have to do right now is you want to click subscribe. You want to click like, and we've got some more episodes coming up, and some more unboxing stuff coming up very shortly. So okay, you want to make sure that those things are up so you get notified when they come up. All right. So until next time, see you again.